Okay. So if you don't, do you have kids?
I do not.
You don't have kids. Okay. What message would you give to your children in the context of the spaces that you engage in romantically right now? What message do you have for your kids in the future?
Like if I had children and they asked about being a sugar baby or like age gap relationships.
Yeah.
I'd say love is love. If you love someone older, go for it. I would tell my daughters, care about making your own money, never need anybody. Because now that I'm in that space of not needing anybody, it feels really good.
That's good.
I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, with whoever I want, or without whoever I want. And that's amazing to have that sovereignty over your own soul. But I was taught to get married young and to depend on a man. My parents literally told me, don't ever get a job where you'll make more than your husband.
Wow.
Because then you could never have a baby and take off work. He'll depend on your income. And that was a money blocking mindset for me. And I've uprooted that. And now I help women uproot that themselves. And if you do get into a relationship with a more successful partner, I would tell anyone, whether it's a client or a future child, that's a time for you to store up your assets. Invest in crypto, invest in the stock market. Do not spend the money you get or you have extra money because you're not paying certain bills on Chanel. Well, maybe Chanel or Hermes. Those will go up in value. But anything else, anything else is depreciating.
I respect it though. I understand the perspective. I get it.
Yes. So invest in assets and don't get yourself into a lifestyle where you're going to have debt if they pull the strings. Save, and only depend on you at the end of the day. That's my advice.
I respect that. But even though I do disagree with, the message that your parents told you about like.
Oh, I disagree too.
However, like your parents told you, don't get a job where you make more than your man. Cause if you have a child, and you have to like, stay home or whatever, then you'll depend on a man who might not make as much as you might need him to.
Right.
Even though I don't agree with that notion, but there is a harsh reality that a lot of women face today, which is that when a woman starts making a certain amount of money, there's a certain lifestyle that comes with it. There's a certain mortgage she accrues. There's a certain car that she drives. There's certain country clubs that she goes to, whatever your thing is, right? There's certain friends that she has, vacations that she goes on, right? And she might not be able to tolerate internally being with someone who makes less than her because, one, she might not like the idea of being more financially supportive to a man. Right. And two, there are cases where those women do want to stay home and take care of their children, but they're making an even bigger sacrifice in their lifestyle to do so if they're with a man that makes less. So what do you say to that?
I mean, it goes back to if you're in that dynamic, you're being dependent on in your masculine. You're being dependent on to operate in your masculine and be a provider. And biologically, we're not wired that way. Now, am I saying that times are changing and it's good they're changing? Absolutely, yes. That's a very misogynistic worldview to think that women should just stay home. No, women should do whatever they want. Staying home with a child is a job, man.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
I'll be the first to say, and I've never thought anything less because I've watched my family members and how they raise children. It's a very involving job. So I'll never say as a guy, mark my words, and I'm not, because there's a lot of men who say, stay-at-home moms, it's a full-time job because they're just trying to be part of that movement, but they don't really understand. Like, it's tough, right? Like every day you're getting vomited on, and it's a whole thing. But go ahead.
It really is. And no, you're good. You take care of the household chores. If you're actually having that exchange, even if it's not any sort of sugar, any relationship, it's just a very traditional relationship with traditional gender roles, you're working your butt off to make sure that your man has food and make sure clothes are clean and the children are safe and everyone's picked up and gone to dance and gymnastics and all the shit. That is work. Yeah. So that's where I stand on that. I think women should be able to do whatever they want and be validated, whether they want to be a stay-at-home human or they want to be out working. But just know that what you said is also true. Your partner may be dependent on you to be in your masculine if you are choosing that path, and there's nothing wrong with it. You just need to be aware that there will be a different song and dance that you will have to play to make your relationship work, where he will have to create a soft space for you to land and out masculine you.
She might not like that. Okay. Cause I have this image in my head, right? Cause men want to be men. Men want to like have some type of like masculinity in some capacity. Not all men, but I'm assuming there's right. I'm trying to imagine a woman, and this might sound very sexist, misogynistic. I don't care. I'm just telling you what it is in my head. I'm imagining a moment where a woman's coming home from work. She's working mad hours, a lot of hours. She's doing all kinds of things to bring home the bacon. And she wants to have like an experience with a masculine man. And she comes home and her man is in an apron at home with babies in his hands. I don't know if that generates the same type of veracity sexually for a woman compared to if it was for a man. I don't think she's going to look at him like, "Ooh, that apron, you look so good with that vomit on that apron. Ooh, take me." You know what I mean?
But that's the problem. That's the problem. It doesn't work for a man to go into his feminine to make a woman feel that she can go into her feminine. The only way for a man to put a masculine woman who's been forced to be in her masculine all day running the ship is to out masculine her. It's not to pull her back into him being feminine. The only way he's going to get her to rest in is to out masculine her. So it actually is a very challenging dynamic a guy to be a stay-at-home dad, because that's him being in the feminine. Typically, that's what that looks like.
And I think even if he's naturally a masculine dude doing that, I think the challenge is when you're a masculine man, but also have some level of dependency, especially financially, you could be the most brolic, tattooed, aggressive dude in the world. But at the end of the day, he's going to need an allowance, okay, in order to cover these bills. And, pragmatically so. But sexually, it might create some challenges for a lot of people. And I've heard stories.
I mean, I agree. And I wish it could be better, where it's just like, oh yeah, if she's in her masculine, he goes to his feminine, it works great, the sexual dynamic is great. It's not. He's got to out masculine her. That's the only solution to that problem.
And the moment she comes home, he's got to like bop her and just take her down, just like I
mean, that's probably what she wants. I'll be honest, every successful person I've ever talked to, every older person I've ever talked to, they want you to be a little dominant at times because they're tired of having to make all the decisions.
I can see that happen. I don't have that problem. I don't call it a problem. I don't have that dynamic. I'm like, I'm masculine in my world. When I come home, I'm still Anyway,
That's good.
Listen, on that note, I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Mm-hmm. You are a phenomenal guest. It's almost like you do this every day.
I do.